So this was the part which we have left on in the last class, right? So let me remove the part which we don't need here. Fee, yeah, that record part that we need. So instead of fees, we need record, right? And instead of s, we need to go with the pointer of s, right? Okay, so we don't need fees, and we need this printing of data as well, right? We need that printing of data. Okay, so enter your name. Similarly, and like the last time, how we were handling it, we had to handle through this dot operator. So this dot operator, you actually link your element or object with the elements of this particular structures. Okay, so s dot name, s dot marks, this is how you handle it. Okay, now because s dot name cannot be handled directly, the reason behind is s dot name is the direct entry, and we are talking about s as one of the pointer. Okay, one of the pointer. So let us also discuss about one more element, suppose maybe st. Okay, st. So what we have done, s is equal to the addresses of st. Okay, s is equal to the addresses of st. Do you have any question, any one of you? Let me check. Somebody is messaging on WhatsApp also, so let me check that as well. Okay, yeah. So so this is how what we have done. The addresses of this particular variable, the addresses of this particular variable are going to be accessed by this particular pointer basically directly. Okay, so how will actually access this specific information? Always, so ampersand as dot name. So instead of dot here in this topic called pointer to structure is, so how do we handle? There's a keyword or you can say symbol here, that is hyphen and this arrow mark, right? So this is how you how you link basically the addressing part of that particular element of this particular structure. So earlier we were linking it through a dot. Now in case of pointer, we need to link it through this particular operator. Okay, so what will happen, whatever entry will be entered or whatever value will be entered by a user, so that is going to be stored at one particular specific location. Later we can access those locations with this particular pointer of s itself, right? Okay, so this will be stored in s, this will be stored in s at different variable that is already given inside this structure basically, right? So later we'll be accessing that information which is actually available at the location of that pointer. Okay, so how will actually handle that part? Let me instead of making a new function, let me just put name and marks these 2 points, these two parts directly here. Okay, let me put it here, right? Yeah, so s, again, to access the information we need to use this symbol. So your name is something like this, your marks are something like this. Okay, let us see, and we don't need this function also. So this is simple example where we can understand the need of pointers into this structure part as well. And this is somewhere indirect addressing or indirect dealing with those information which has been stored at those particular locations where structure is actually storing the data. So let us first of all run this code. Let us understand. Okay, so I need to choose language here. Let us see for us. Name is SOR, the marks are 80, right? So this is exactly same as the earlier part that we were dealing with the structure or array of structures. So what happens in array that we have already seen, if you remember what happens in array, let me just take it through the comparison. There are two topics now. You can use either array of structures or pointers to structures. So now what is array? Array is somewhere a particular collection of the similar type of information. So you have got a table, and here suppose this is your first student. Likewise, same similar type of students are coming up, and there are lots of entries of multiple students, s2 s3 like this, s3 s4 like this. There are multiple students are coming up. That's why we need array. Array means the similar information of different students, right? So we were working on array. So what is happening in pointers, it is somehow same as array. We are needing the same, we are having the same need of multiple entries of different users, like student number 1 2 3 or 4 like that. But what happens here is, if you want to access something in pointers, what happens, it fixes the addresses. Suppose the address of s1 is 30, right? 30 is the address of s1, and there's another address which is suppose 35. This is suppose 38. This is suppose 58, right? Like that. So what happens uh, in case of compilation, in case of compiler? So how does this compiler work in case of accessing the information? Suppose you want to access the information of s1 here and s1 here. So here you will be accessing this information which will be accessed from 30th location. Then again you need s2, then it will be accessed from 35. So compiler will jump from 30th location from 30th location to 35th location. Likewise, if we need to access s4, then it will jump it from 35 to 58. So to jump from one place to another place, right, in that address, it takes time. So array is somewhat slower in that respect, because it has to jump to access at multiple location. However, what happens in pointers, we simply store the addresses, right? And if you want to just work on these three addresses together, so what will happen, you need to write suppose this is I, this is your I, and the first value of this particular pointer is 30, and which is coming at 0th location, right? So I plus plus will give you those locations, 30th 35th 38 like that. So what will happen, automatically compiler will access these values 30 35 38. So here in this case of pointer, right, in case of pointer, the amount of information, if it is too huge, if you have huge amount of data, right, not only 4 users, there are millions of users, right? Just suppose in a case you have millions of users, right? Then to access a huge amount of information, pointer will give you fast response compared to array, right? Pointer will give you faster response compared to array. However, arrays are also quite fast in comparison with other topics, other variables, or other data types. But here in this comparison, array to pointer, this will be little more faster, right? So as a programmer, if your your software, you are developing a software. Yeah, you are a developer, right? So as a developer, what you have to think in mind, and you should keep in mind that you should write a code always in such a way that your your performance of the code should be little good, and maybe it should be great, right? So to make it great, you have to consider all these facts, where you can actually save time, how your processing power and all these things can be little faster. Okay, so that is the case. You have to understand the case of pointer as well, right? However, if you are concerned with the output, so output can be done, or output can be get through arrays and pointers in the same fashion. So this program, the program which we have written to access the information, was quite same as earlier we had discussed about the array part as well. Okay, so let me copy this and put it into the notes, right? So day 19, I would send this to you also. Okay, yeah. So I hope you have understood the part of array of structures, right? We'll try to use this in our project also. So whenever we'll move on to the project part, we'll try to discuss about arrays as well, and pointers as well. Okay, so which one we should use and why to use them, and if we'll be using them, so how to make the proper structure out of them. Okay, now let us move on to this type def function and type def versus define keyword. Okay, so these are not functions, by the way. These are the keywords, and which helps us to actually perform our task, or write our code with more ease. It will be little good to write the program with the help of these two keywords basically. So we'll try to understand them separately, and then we'll try to check the difference between both of them as well. Okay, so there are multiple other keywords also, but these are two very important one for us in C programming. Okay, so also related to the last class, the editing part of that particular video is done, has been done already. I have got that video also. I have to upload that for you, right? So as soon as I'll get the uploading part of that video done, right, so I'll share you that particular link also, okay, of last class. So now let's just check how to implement this part. What is type def, and what is type def and define function. Okay, give me a second please. Yeah, so type def is a kind of keyword. Like other keywords, we had a lot of keywords, right? So type def is a keyword in C programming language. How does it help us? So type def, if you actually define, like suppose char, right? Char as maybe sor, right? So now instead of char, you can write sor. So it's just a great power, right? You can actually replace this particular keyword with this particular keyword. So what will happen, and this should be written on the top of the program. So after your pre-processing part in hash include, right, this part, you have to actually define this particular keyword, right? So now what you have told to your compiler is that instead of character, type def function is, or keyword is helping us to actually change, or give another name, or another liberty to use another name also. So you can use sor in the entire program instead of character. Okay, so how will you use it? Okay, so in your main program, suppose you have void main function, right? So you can directly define sor, then maybe s1 s2 s3 S for these type of variables. So what type of variable that we have defined? S1 is the character type variable, S2 is character type variable, S3 is character type variable. So when these kind of function or keyword help us in the program or in programming, so whenever you think, okay, you don't want to write and you want to have a different keyword that you are you are actually fond of, or you want to give another keyword name, right? Like I have given here the another name called sor. So you can actually create it through typedef function. Okay, now let us see the implementation of this particular part as well. Okay, let us check the part of implementation of this particular typedef function also. So let me remove this, we don't need anything like this. Sor s1, and what is this s1? Typedef char, typedef char, then I write it for sor. Okay, so this is how we have defined that char can be used as sor. So let me remove the entire part here. Yeah, so let me remove this is also s1. Enter your name. Instead of name, just give another entry. Okay, it's just a character, not entire string. So it should be C, enter any character, right? So whatever you'll enter, let us try to print that character also. Percentile C, comma s1 as well. Okay, so now you can check the power of this typedef keyword. Okay, let me run this program. It will ask me to enter something. Suppose I've entered A, so A is being printed. Now I think you got the idea, right? So instead of this character, if I'll take character of 20, right, so it made a array, right? It made an array. So now sor s1 is an array. Okay, sor s1 is an array. Okay, so you can directly write even here, instead of this you can write here s1 of 20. Now let me print it through a string instead of this. Enter your name. I can give the same thing here as well. And what we're testing here, whether now this character which we have made the another keyword as this character, that is sor. So sor has become the definition of character now, right? And then s1 20. So we have got 20 character long, right? We have got 20 character long string. So if I'll enter here Saurabh, same thing is getting printed. Give me a minute please. हाँ सर, पोजीशन तो ऑफिस है सर पी. हाँ सर, बताइए सर. क्या, बताइए ना. आकाश, चूस रहा होगा आपके. हम्म हम्म हम्म. हाँ नहीं, मैं मैटर बता दूंगा आपको कि क्या मैटर है. अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा. हम्म 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 वो मुझे सब भेजें. हाँ, जो आप मुझे भेजे आपको भेज दिया हमने. सर मैं एक काम करूं, मैं आपको कुछ और देर में बात कर सकता हूं, क्योंकि मैं क्लास ले रहा हूं। एक मेरे सर पे बहुत जिम्मेदारी। 9:30 बजे करूं? 1 घंटे बाद। डन सर, डन सर। ये मैटर है क्योंकि मैं भी करता नहीं तो आपको कॉल आप नहीं करते था। यहाँ से जब गया वो थोड़ा सा अनसेटिस्फाइड था। ठीक है, वो टैकल ही करना है। ओके। या so this is how you have got an idea. Same thing, character or the arrays or any particular keyword, whatever you want, whatever like let me give the another thing. Saurav, Bharadwaj. So Saurav is coming up. Maybe the length is not coming up. Maybe the data which we have entered is not right. So, but you have got an idea now, the clear idea that any particular uh, definition of any specific data type, that you can give it to the another keyword. Okay, so this is the beauty of using typedef keyword, okay, in your program. Now let us talk about hash define. Hash define a as 1. Okay, so what happens here is, let me tell you one more thing. So in typedef keyword only you can just give any data type and another name, right, that I have given in previous example, and that was sor. But now in hash define case you can actually give any definition to any variable, right? So I have a variable called a, and I have given a definition called 1. So now the value of a has become 1. Okay, so whenever I'll use a in the program, that will be treated as 1, right? That will be treated as 1. So if I'll go in main function, void main, and I'll just print, okay, right, printf. So it should print 1. It should print 1. And let us see whether it works or not. It works or not. Right, so let me make it with the comments. We don't need them. Just we need to print percentile d, and that is a. Okay, because it's a number basically here. It's an integer value. So 1 is being printed. Okay, so if I'll just change it to something like uh, hello, let us check whether it works for us. S, and print it. Yeah, so what do we have a difference here? Have you checked the difference? Here you are actually giving another liberty to access your data types. But in case of define is preprocessor thing. Here we are using hash keyword, right? However, there is no need of using hash keyword here, right? So this is a kind of specific keyword, and it works with the pre-processing part, like hash include works. So whenever compilation of this program will happen, so initially it will start from hash include, and it will jump onto hash define thing first, right? And then it will go for other things like type def or int main function or other things, right? So here in this hash define case, you can actually give the meaningful information, or you can give actually meaning to a particular variable here, and that you can actually utilize in the entire program. And this is something which is called as global. So it, because it is global, you can use it for the entire program. You may have functions, you may have the main function, you have separate user defined functions everywhere inside any specific loop or condition. Anywhere you can use this, and that is the beauty of hash define. So I believe you have got the complete idea of this typedef keyword and hash define keyword also, and the difference between both of them as well, right? So according to your need in your programming, you can actually use these two things, right? So instead of using global variables, instead of defining global variables, you can actually use has defined keyword. Okay, so people, and I'm sure I have seen a couple of programmers, right, who are working with different programming languages. They used to work with these kind of keywords because it is quite easy to use these keywords and these definitions, and these are good to use in the entire program. But you need to take care of the name that you are actually building with the variables, and the amount of information that you are actually following or giving it to use in the entire program. Okay, so this was the part which we have discussed today related to pointer to structure and type def function or keyword into in this C programming, also type def versus hash defined keyword. Okay, so is there any question? Do you have anyone, do you have any question? There is no question, like we can end up this class today, and tomorrow we'll meet at the same time and go for discussing about union. A small introduction to union is something similar to structure, but we have little, a little more advantages using unions basically in the programming language, right? So what are the differences in structure and union, that we'll see tomorrow. Also the entire part of definition and syntax, the need of union as well. Okay, so that will do it tomorrow. Then we'll go for file handling part, right? How to take user input from different files. If you have stored some data into a file, how to actually read it, and and if you have some data, you have some user input information, how to actually store that into one of the specific file. That is the part of file handling or file input and output part. Okay, and then we'll go for understanding DMA, and that is very important part to understand how to deal with dynamic memory allocation, so that our computation power should be optimized, and your program should give more efficient output. It should be little fast in execution. Okay, so all these three different topics we'll try to cover in 3 different days, and then after this we'll come on to the part of discussing about the project. Okay, that's it for today. We'll meet it tomorrow at the same time. If you have question, please ask. Otherwise, we'll end up the class of completing this topic today. Thank you.